Hey everybody, so today I want to show you how I make my mushroom charms, and I start off with some beige polymer clay. I'm using Sculpey Primo here, and I use this beige color for the base, and I'm just rolling it into the shape that I'm looking for. You can make them as big or as small as you want to. And I start off with this oval roundish shape that I just keep manipulating until it's the shape of the mushroom that I want. I like to make these guys a little more on the round side, a little bit chubby, and they've got little cheeks in the back too, so they are super cute. Basically all you need is any kind of polymer clay that you can bake, and you bake this in the oven. Follow the directions on your clay. And like I said here, I'm using the Sculpey Primo, and I just have really good luck with this brand, so it's pretty much my go-to right now. And like I said here, I'm still just shaping out the actual body of what I want this mushroom to look like. Basically all you need is this clay, an eye pin if you're going to make a charm, any kind of pin that you can set the clay onto. And then also I coated them in resin for that extra protection of breaking and things like that. So really that's all you need is your clay and some resin for this. Also I'm using black clay for the eyes and the smile. And again here I'm just going to keep shaping it until I like how it looks. So I sped this next part up a little bit here because I'm really just shaping the mushroom body. Really, your fingers work great. You don't really need much else, but there are sculpting tools you can get. Right now I'm just using a wooden dowel to shape out the little legs that I'm making on this little guy here. So really just use what you have available. And then this part here, I'm making the little back side. Just because, I don't know, I thought it would look cute, and I had struggled with the last one I did, doing it all on the same piece. So this one I just took out a little scrap of that same beige clay I've been working with, and then I just put a little line down the middle, and then I just kind of shape out onto the back side of this guy and put it into place until I think it looks right and cute and how I like it. And that's pretty much all that part is. And like I said before, you can really use anything you have handy to help you, like right here for some of the finer details and the creases and everything. I'm just using a plain old needle. So that's kind of the nice thing about projects like this with clay. You really don't need a lot. You just need some creativity, and like I said, you can pretty much find stuff around the house that you can use to help you out. A spoon works great for smoothing things out. This needle's great for really fine detail. Just, trial and error. Just try things and see what works for you for the textures that you're trying to achieve. And here I'm just putting in some small lines just to give the body a little bit of texture like a mushroom. But yeah, so I just keep doing this until I'm satisfied with the texture and the look of it. And then here you'll also see me take that same needle and I will use it to make a little belly button on the front side. And then again, I just keep moving things around until I'm happy and satisfied with it. So off camera, I had already rolled out a little bit of the black clay, and I used that for the little itty bitty eyes and the smile on the mushroom body. So I'm just taking those and placing them where I want until I'm happy with the way everything's positioned. Also, after I had put the eyes and the smile on, I realized that I didn't like where I placed the little belly button, so I decided to move that down further. So don't feel like, if you've made a mistake or you don't like the way something turned out, you can always just go back over it, move things around, and mess with it until you're happy with it. And so don't get discouraged or anything like that. It might take you a few times to get something that you really like, and that's okay. So now here, I'm going to go ahead and put it on my eye pin. Or like I said, any kind of wire or pin that you have that you can loop and make into a charm, which I will show you here in just a minute how I did that. Now you could always, start your base on the pin. I just prefer not to do that because things move around and the hole that my pin is in can sometimes shift or get bigger, and I don't like that. So what I'll do is I just, like you saw, I will go through the bottom and I slowly just maneuver the clay to make sure that it goes through to the point that I want it to. And even if it doesn't, I'll just go in and, I'll back up a little bit and go back in and up until it comes out of the point that I want it to. And also you can smush things and move them around to make it work. And then just make sure, everything's smoothed out how you want it. And that's pretty much it. You just get it on the pin. So now at this point, I am taking some leftover clay that I had from other projects. And I think this one's just a mix of some translucent clay, the beige clay that I'm using for the mushroom bodies, and gold leaf. And I just mixed all that up and made this really cool effect here. So I'm going to go ahead and use that for the mushroom cap here. It's really pretty. And I think I had some copper and some silver gold leaf in there as well. So it's got a lot of different colors going on in there. And then the translucent will also give it a really cool look as well. So I just formed that to the size and the thickness that I want for the cap. And I just kind of play around with that until I'm happy with it. I went to go ahead and put this on and then completely forgot to put the underside of my mushroom cap together here. So all I'm doing is taking some translucent Sculpey Primo clay that I have, and I made a very, very thin layer, and I'm just putting that over the gold leaf cap. And then what I will do is I'm going to put texture in it to make it look like the underside of the mushroom cap with the gills and everything. And you'll see that here in just a second. So what I'm going to do here is just keep manipulating the cap until I'm getting the shape and the size that I want. And just with my fingernail, I go around the edges and I start giving it some texture. Give it a little bit of roughness and some realness. Just a little bit. Or you can make it as stylized as you want. Really, it's up to you what you prefer. So now that I have that layer on, I'm going to take my awl here and just go through it making lines. You can use anything. You could use a needle like I was using before. Anything that you can just make very detailed fine lines with. And again, I'm just going through and putting those lines in until I'm happy with the outcome. And before I put the mushroom cap all the way on, I decided I wanted to make it a little more secure. So here I'm just adding some liquid Sculpey. It's oven bake adhesive. And I just got that at the craft store. Just gives it a little extra bond between the clay pieces. But if you don't have it, it's perfectly fine. Just make sure you get a really good contact between the mushroom cap and the mushroom body. That way they don't come apart if it drops, or snags on something. This way you have a little bit extra bond there to keep them together. So I've got my mushroom back out of the oven. I baked it for about 25 minutes at 250, right around there. Actually, I believe it was 275 for about 20 minutes. You can do 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Just keep an eye on it to make sure it's not burning or anything like that. I'd rather have a lower temperature and bake it longer. You don't want to have it get too hot too fast either, because you can burn it or cause cracks or things like that. So also make sure you preheat either your oven, or most of the time on these little things I use a toaster oven. And I just watch them while they're baking just to make sure, like I said, nothing's burning. And now that it is baked, I go in with a brush and UV resin and just give it a thin coat all the way around, all the nooks and crannies, just to make sure that I have everything covered well and evenly. And then I will throw that under the UV light for about 2 minutes. I just want to make sure that everything is good and hardened and ready to go. And here she is out of the light, all done, covered in resin. So now the last thing we have to do is actually make our charm part here. But yeah, I was just so happy with how these turn out, and look at those little cheeks. I just love them. So anyway, again, like I said, we're making this a charm. So for this part, I use my needle nose round pliers, and that's pretty much it. You can use some flat nose pliers if you have them, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna go in to where the pin meets the clay, and I went up just a tiny bit, give it a little bit of room, and then you're gonna bend to make a 90-degree angle with that wire or pin that you're using, just like this. And then go to the end, depending on how big you want your loop to be. I went to about the middle of my pliers and slowly just kept turning and turning. I actually did a double loop with this one to see how it looked. I did like it, but typically I will do like a single loop if I think it's sturdy enough, and I'll do double loops if I feel like it needs it. So here I am just trying to make sure that the loops are good and sturdy and not going anywhere. And I just tighten that all up and make sure that everything is on there securely and tightly. And I don't know if you can see it very well, but there is a tiny little tail of wire that I want to get rid of. That way it's not poking or catching anything to where it will bend the wire. So I just try to cut that down as close as I can there. And I took some flat nose pliers and just kind of smushed it together and played with it until I was happy. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to making these mushroom charms. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope you have fun making your own charms, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.